Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I am back with my sampler quilt. I am trying to finish this quilt, my first sampler quilt ever. And the problem I have is that I'm running out of background. So I wanted to make it kind of big, but now I'm not going to be able to do that because I just want to finish this. I couldn't get any more background. I went and looked and they don't have any at Martin's. So I'm going to finish it using maybe some other fabrics that I have on hand. This one is going to be for me anyway, so I'm not going to be overly fussy. And I just wanted to let you guys know that I keep looking there because it's on the bed. I'm just going to show you the layout of the three massive, huge pieces that I have made. And I'm going to fill in, and we're going to call this one done as soon as it's done. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next sampler quilt. It's going to be like a cheater's sampler quilt. I don't know if such a thing exists, but I'm making it exist, and I think you guys are going to have fun with that one. You'll be able to follow along for the most part. I don't have anything planned on paper yet. I don't want to, because if I start planning that one, I'm going to want to jump right in with that one, but I need to finish this one first. I will tell you that this series, I absolutely love it. I have had so much fun sewing with no pressure at all as to like how long this series is going to last for this particular quilt. I just do it as I feel like it, and I'm enjoying it. It can be frustrating, but it's not that kind of frustrating that's making me mad because, oh my God, I need this content. No, I'm just doing this because I enjoy doing it. And there's always frustrations when you sew, and there's always picking seams apart. I don't actually hate doing that. I kind of like it, little repetitive motion. What I am trying to say is I have completely enjoyed this series so far. I hope you have too, and like I said, I'm going to just keep doing one sampler quilt after another until I'm tired of doing that. So let's go look at the three gigantic blocks that I have, even though this is called Small Stuff Quilt. The blocks are gigantic, and I'm going to now do some measuring and see what I need to fill in. So let's just go look at it. This is what I have, and I don't believe that you saw the white border yet. I did indeed put a white border around all my three massive blocks, and I really like that. I still need a center for the flower. That's on its way at some point. Now what I need to do is fill these spaces. I would like my flower there, and then this just to balance out that. And that, I would have liked it horizontal, but I don't want to add to the width because I'm trying to just, keep this as small as possible now so that I can, use my background and hopefully, I don't know, I might have enough depending on the size blocks that I make. So I'm going to just have that one vertical there and put a few blocks there, maybe 3 little blocks, and then, I don't know, something there, obviously, something here. So I'm just going to see what I come up with, and I will show you as I go. So excited. I decided I wanted to try doing some Wonky Stars. I have not done those yet. I've done plenty of wonkiness on my own, but not Wonky Stars. I've played with it, and I've already come up with what I'd like to call a double Wonky Star. But I'm not going to show that tonight because I wanted to keep it a little bit more simple. We're going to do a basic Wonky Star, and I'm so happy with this decision. I've got 2 made, and I'm going to show you the third one. I need a block about 18 inches, well, not about, I would like it to be 18 inches wide, including the 2-inch border on each side. I cut 2-inch white strips. I didn't mention that before. So the border finished size after the seam allowance is 1 3/4, but I cut 2-inch strips. So I have to take that into consideration, but I want my block to end up being 18 inches wide. I don't care how tall. It's going to go somewhere horizontally under that flower panel. And it's going to be just 3 Wonky Stars with the background and then the white border around it. You might remember in one video that I had picked up some little prints at Martin's because this is the small stuff themed quilt. And for something like Wonky Stars, I don't want like a whole bunch of seams. So I thought, good time to use my little prints. It's little, tiny. I have this, and I also had this. We are going to make a Wonky Star with this right now. I'll show you the one I made with the like grid with this. It's so cute. Look at that. You know I love wonky. I really, really do. And what's wonky about it is that the points are just all different sizes. I also made one with the striped fabric, and that was my first one. And some of the legs are so short, but it's still super cute. Look at the tiny little short star point legs, whatever you want to call it. So this one is really wonky, and I really like it very much. Wonky Stars can be scrappy, they can be anything, and I'm actually going to probably do some videos just on Wonky Stars because I think they're that special. So I have two. We are going to make the third one out of this. Let me cut my pieces and then I'll tell you what I did. To make a Wonky Star, we're pretty much just making a 9 patch, except that 4 of the pieces in the 9 patch are going to have the Wonky Star points on them. So you can use any size squares that you want. I'm using 2-inch squares because after the 9 patch is sewn together, I'm going to be able to have a 5-inch Wonky Star. And that's exactly the size that I need to make my block. I'm going to have 3 5-inch blocks, and I'm going to make that into an 18-inch wide quilt block for my sampler quilt. Then you need a center and fabric for your points. Now, they can be scrappy. Your center can be one thing, and all the points, they could be all different colors, every one of them. But I'm making mine just all the same. So first I cut a strip about 2.5 to 3 inches wide. It's better to be a little on the generous side, and this is going to give me fabric to make the star points. And I'm also going to cut the center, so I need 1 2-inch square out of this. And why I'm using just fabric and not pieced fabric. See, I would have liked to have used maybe this for like the center, but I'm working a small block and I just don't want to be dealing with all these seams. And it would have been cool to have like the star points, something like this, which is all little strips sewn together. It's a little strip set. But again, the block I'm working on is too small, and I don't want to have a million seams all stuck together. So I just cut my 2-inch piece, and let's build our little star block. So you're just going to put, for now, 3 of your backgrounds at the top. This is your center, and then background on each side. Get out, threads. So the center is done. The 4 corners are done. We're not touching those. We just want these 4 pieces. So let's just take those out. Just going to move this over. And these are the blocks that we're going to make the little points on. Now I'll be putting this at my machine, and I'm going to be using a piece of this fabric that I'm going to cut. And I'm going to be laying the fabric out onto this somewhere here. On the bottom, kind of toward the middle. Doesn't have to be exactly the middle, but kind of toward the middle. And then on this side, well, if I have the fabric going like here, it's going to be a little short star point. If I have it go like more up here, it's going to be a taller point. And that's how we create the wonkiness. So what I do, let me see if I can get you a little bit closer. I lay this almost like on point facing me. So I have the point here and the point there. And I'm going to cut a piece of this. You actually need to be more generous with this than you would expect, because so many times we sew and then we fold it over and we don't quite cover the tip. It happens all the time to the best of us. So what I do is I take my block and I put it on point, like on the edge. I want to make sure I cut beyond this point. So my points here are on the edge, and I'm just going to cut a nice generous piece like that. Now, I'm pretty much guaranteed that I'm not going to fuck it up by not having it be generous enough. So this is right side up, and I have it on point as I'm looking at it. And now I'm going to take this piece right side down, and like I said, I'm going to put it somewhere here. So I'm going to make a kind of a long leg. So I have this, I'm going to have kind of in the center down here, and then on the top I'm going to have it kind of close to the top. And I'm just going to sew. And I've been doing like 1/8 of an inch, not a whole quarter. Because I do assembly style, I'm going to go ahead and send another piece through. So I'm going to cut another generous piece. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just lay it down somewhere. Let's make this one a little bit shorter. So I'm kind of in the middle on this side and kind of in the middle on that side too. Now I want to show you a way that you can save fabric. Once I have this little bugger, I'm going to, hold my background, and I'm going to push this back. And I'm going to finger press. It looks weird. Yes, it does. Now I look at the back. I'm going to use my background as the guide to trim this piece. And when I trim here, I'm going to just trim all the way across, and that's going to give me fabric for another star point. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing when I'm doing it, but I'm just using the background as my guide. I'm just going to continue right in that direction. See that nice piece of fabric that leaves me? And then I'm going to turn it this way and trim. Easy as that. So there's part of our little star. We're going to have another one on that same square. So let me finish these. I have 2 more to make. I just wanted to hurry up and show you that. Now I'm going to do the same thing to all of these. I'm going to have my background fabric down, and I'm going to finger press, and I'm going to cut at that angle, and I'm going to cut all the way to the end, and then I'm going to cut this little part off, and that gets tossed. Now I have these pieces that I'm going to use for the other side. So you look at your block. This one, both sides could be considered the bottom. This one is closer to the center, so I'm going to consider that the bottom. So now we need a piece going this way. We want like a V shape going this way. So I'm actually going to turn it this way as though it's the top, and I'm going to take one of my triangles, and it's going to go somewhat like this. See what I mean, Jelly Bean? So I'm going to lay it down this way, but before I sew, I'm going to fold it back, pretending there's a seam allowance there, and I am covering all of my background. So I'm pretty much good to go. So I'm just laying it that way, creating a V, and I'm going to sew. Going to do the same. Okay, so this piece, I have 2 choices. This is kind of closer to the center than this one. This is way up. So this is going to be my V, which will end up being the bottom of this block. But to sew it, I put it at the top. I'm going to take another one of these scrap pieces, and I'm going to lay it face down and push it back. When I push it back like that, I'm, imagining that I'm sewing here on this line. And I see that I have plenty of space. Next one. So I'm just going to finger press and trim like I did before. And this time I'm just not caring about these little leftover scraps. And now I have 4 pieces that look something like this. Now I'm going to back you up, and we're going to build our little 9 patch. All right, so this is my V. Well, it's only the bottom when it's the block at the top. So the whole thing is you're going to make the puzzle, your V is going to point to the center. So like this. Can you see what I'm doing? There's our V. So that's going to point to the centerpiece. There's our V. There's no V on this side, so we don't put it this way. This is the V, so we're putting it right there. And we're just going to sew this 9 patch together, and it's going to give us our wonky star. And the way I do it is I just keep it, well, I move it over a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and flip it here. This piece, flip it here. This piece, flip it here. Of course, I will straighten those up, but I'm going to sew this one, then this one, then this one. So let me just move these out of the way a little bit. So taking my top one. So let's bring this back. Oh, this is the center. I don't know how I grabbed the wrong one, but I did. This could be, this is the top. And this is the bottom. Now I'm putting this here, this here, this here. And I'm just going to sew all of these guys. But I turn it around, because that's the way I sew. And now these two. Now all we have left to do is to sew the rows together. Finger press, finger press. So you notice I didn't do any pressing. I did all of this at my machine. I only press when the block is done. Finger pressing is all I need. Now I'm just going to sew the rows together. Oh my goodness. Let me go press it. I have my 3 blocks, and I think I will be laying them out like this with this darker one in the center because the other 2 are more lighter. And I trimmed them, I pressed them, and I trimmed them to 5 inches. Now I need this piece to be 15 inches wide, finished. Then I will add the borders. With the seam allowances, this is only going to be 14. So that's good because I kind of didn't want these right up against each other, so I'm going to be adding a little bit of background, and I'm running out of background. All of these squares were painstakingly cut from scraps. Any little scrap, if I could get 2 inches out of it, I used that because I just didn't want to cut into any more of my background. So I'm going to add a piece in between each of these. I need a 1-inch strip between these blocks, and so I went into my scrap pile and did that. Found a strip that was just a little over 1 inch and I trimmed it. All right, so let's do that. And I'll put this one on this side here. Finger press, finger press, finger press. Okay, so that was like this, like this, like this. Cool. I'm going to sew this one together. Am I running out of top thread? I am. Hate that. Hang on. So let me show you what I'm doing. I had this sewn together with the 1-inch strips between the pieces and love it, but I forgot that I want background on each end because I don't want my white border to bump right up against the stars. So if I add some to each end, now it's going to be wider than 15. So I'm taking it apart and I'm going to, which one did I just take apart? Here? I guess so. And I'm going to make this narrower. So let me just finish this and then I'll show you what I did. Look, I did my 1/8 inch sashings like I showed you in the video that I just did. I'll link to that video down below. I was able to use the same strips that I had cut and I just made my nice little narrow sashings. Do love very much that it's nice little narrow strips like that. I just love that stuff. Now this is almost 15 inches, but I still want some on the edge. So I'm going to just sew a couple of narrow pieces on each side, and then I will trim this to 15 inches, and then I can add my 2-inch white border all the way around. I have it. Now I'm going to add some short pieces of white on each end. Do I have anything long enough? Ooh, this one's going to make it. Finger press and trim. Now let's see if I have 2 long enough pieces. I'm even running out of white. It's just takes more fabric than I thought. I'm actually sewing on some of my points. I was supposed to put background on the top and bottom of those stars. And I didn't. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to make it bigger this way. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going with it. I'm finishing it. And this is when I know that I've done too much in one day. Because this isn't all I've done today. And I really should have quit. I do best if I keep my sewing sessions down to like an hour max, or I start forgetting things. I mean, it's okay. It's just I wanted more background, which I have very little of. Well, I keep saying that. I mean, I have maybe a half a yard full width, and I'm, doing everything I can to save that for, I have a lot to fill in. Am I going to have to cut some more white strips? Yes, I am. Hang on. All right, let me press this and we will be done. I like it, but I really wanted my stars to look like they were floating on the background, and we have that white butt up against the stars. It's funny that I was concerned with adding to the edge so that I wouldn't lose my points. I lost them in the background, but I completely didn't think of it in this direction. Oh well, this is what I have. Wow, this was a lot of work. For a piece that's not really filling up any of those gigantic spaces that I have left, but I like it. And this is going to be the end of this episode, so we have probably a few more episodes to go. I have to stop and think what else I want to do for the rest of the samples in my sampler quilt. I really do love this. I mean, I'm very glad that I did the Wonky Stars. I'm just pissed off a little bit that I didn't think to add background. It's because it's in my head to save on background. So it's probably a good idea that it ended this way. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back with more soon. Bye!